Okay, dang. We are live, Kristen. We are live.
Oh my goodness, we're here.
Yeah,
It's party day.
party. Yes, welcome everyone. Welcome to Carolina Retirement Planners Weekly Happy Half Hour. This little happy half hour is a little different than most. Usually Sam and I are together, but Sam has sort of went on a business trip and added some vacation to it. And so she left me here. Luckily, she didn't leave me all alone. We have Kristen. Those of you who just say hi, Kristen, wave to them, and
Hi guys. It's nice to meet
Kristen
y'all again.
joined us. I don't know, a couple months ago now. Has it been?
A little over a month. I think we're at
Little
about
over. Time flies when you're having fun. She joined us. She is our new director of First Impressions, taken over for Susan, who was with us for many years, but the rascal went off and retired. But we're happy to have Kristen here. Also in the background, we have Amy, who can come to the foreground anytime she's ready, and join us as well. So so we're going to kind of have some fun. Although I
I'm
am going to.
here.
There she is.
I'm
There
here.
she is. Yes. We're going to have some fun, talk about some things. Although I am going to talk about some things that are maybe not so fun, get them off my chest, and give you some of my perceptions. But we're gonna have fun either way. So and
We always have to say what I'm going to help facilitate. I'm going to pretend to be Sam, which is I'm definitely not as good, but we definitely have to ask, say who's here, what is everybody drinking, talk about the day today. So
right.
first, let's just say what are you drinking, Kristen? What are you drinking today?
Today I'm drinking Pura Still. It's a hard still, a spiked still water. Kind of blew my mind.
That is kind of crazy.
Delicious.
David, what do you have over there?
in my day, we just called that moonshine.
There you go. It's good. I'm drinking a Kirkland, Costco hard seltzer. My goal is always to try and finish one by the end of happy half hour, but it never happens. So,
maybe just as well,
Yes. So I'm going to be multitasking, trying to feed our comments into while we're live and beyond. But so, and David, what are you drinking?
Well, I am drinking here tea. Those of you who have been to our office know that some years ago I saw a book called The Tea Diet. Of course, any book that has diet in the title, I'm immediately attracted to. But I got into drinking maybe more tea than coffee. I used to drink an awful lot of coffee. Now I drink an awful lot of coffee and tea. And this is Nilgiri. This is one of my favorite teas. It comes from the east coast of India, and it's one I have every morning. And I'm feeling a little stuffy, so I thought I'd have some tea here and during the happy half hour. Probably
Can you
should
pronounce that for me again? Because I've been working with you for a few years now, and I've never. How do you pronounce that tea?
I think it's pronounced Nilgiri.
Nilgiri. Okay.
Nilgiri is really how you pronounce it, and it's a nice. Teas sometimes they're too light, sometimes they're too bitter. This one just has a great balance, and we just basically stop seeing folks in the office right now. The government says, the county says, you need to wear a mask. And boy, COVID is raving again, probably as bad as ever with this new variant. So we're being safe at least and kind of going back to Zoom meetings as much as at least as at all possible. But when you do get in, we had some folks who had joined us over the pandemic, become clients who finally got in for the first time. And we were able to treat them to some teas. If you come to the office, be sure also to ask for the Katharine Hepburn blend.
That's a good one. That is a good one. I do want to say just a couple things that Nadine, she's joining us with a Prosecco. I don't know if you want to say some hi, but Paula, she says that your spiked water sounds interesting, Kristen. So I don't know. Yeah, Miranda, one of our top fans, is saying cheers. And I don't know if David, if you want to take a look, and I've been trying to go back and forth here and put some of our people in if you want to say hello to any of those people. And while I,
And Barb are ready to party.
Yeah, Dan and Barb up in the mountains already. And
yeah, I got my party hat on. Nadine noticed it. Yeah, party hat, our shirts.
And Patrick, good to see you. I missed somebody up there. Did I miss?
Yeah, we have Ricky was with us, and
Brad, another regular. Nancy, who's become a real regular, is here. We have maybe an answer for her on one of her questions.
yep, Ed is here.
Nadine, Donna, and Tony are here.
Jay and Carter are here.
They say you need to turn up my volume. Let me see
Yes.
if I can do that here. Let me see if I can do that here.
Thanks for saying that. Chris and I were trying to tell them that too, but yeah. We also want to say today is International Orangutan Day. So what?
This should give you more volume. Now.
Yes, thank you. Much better. Ah, my mom just joined us. Yay.
Okay.
Top fan. Yes, Teresa Maciejewski Dreski. I mean, as Polish as it gets. She is here with us today. Hi, Mom. Look, I got my party hat, my party shirt on.
I did not get the memo.
No, we did not. We didn't give Kristen the memo. That is totally my bad. It was a wake up moment this morning, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, we should do this today." And you're already at the office.
Okay, let's see. We've got Miranda Brent. Barbara is here. As Jay and Carter as usual. Rick, it's good to see you. And yeah.
So let's get this party started, David.
That's right. Well, what day is today? We always like to celebrate what day it is.
Well, we said it's International Orangutan Day. And I know Kristen did a lot of fact checking on orangutans. Is there anything you would like to share with us, Kristen?
I think the most interesting fact I learned today is that I read that the word orangutan directly translates into people of the forest.
That is crazy. Do you also know that I think they're like the old man of the forest. That's what they're referred to. I like that as well. So they're just like funny and adorable.
It's in all of Southeast Asia.
Yeah, good old orangutans. I mean, I don't know if we're gonna approach one in the wild if you see one walking down the street or anything, but you know, they're always good for a good meme and videos, and they're just silly and cute.
Sandy and I when we took some vacation while they were fixing our AC system, we did go to the North Carolina Zoo. I suspect we saw orangutans. It all runs together after a while, but although no, maybe the monkey thing, that pavilion might have been closed. I don't know, but
I really like the Arctic foxes when I was there.
yeah.
Oh, do they have like the tips? Are there tails?
Little black,
Yeah.
Dark, big old black eyes, and they're just the most adorable thing. They look like stuffed animals.
Aww. Just a little more. If you would like to check the little chat here, David, we have a couple more little things I put in there, and if you want to say hello.
Dan is here. It's good to see you with us. I think Martha. I don't know if we caught Martha before, and Barbara says we're cutting in and out. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyone else having problems hearing us cutting in and out? It could be the humidity. I don't know. I'm making that up.
Yeah, when it gets this hot for this long, you know.
Yeah, I'm just saying words currently. I don't know. So
the gods of the internet.
Yes, Dan says no, that we're fine. So all right, so we should get this going. And before you get into the meat and potatoes of today, David, you do have to since the topic is Sam is away and David is going to play, you have to give your number one party tip of how to throw a good party or play when your kids are away. So what would that be?
Well, I know when my kids were young, it was mostly catching up on sleep, you know.
Well, wait, what? Okay. Well, that's what you're going with. That's what you're going with.
How I party.
Oh, you don't have kids yet, Kristen. When you have kids, You know, you
Yeah.
got a bunch of 5-year-olds running around and they're away with grandparents or something. You'll find that just sleeping late is kind of like what you're after,
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right.
you
That
know.
is not the party tip we were looking for, but if that's what you're going with, that's what
But
you're going
those
with.
parents on
Party
the
tip we got.
those
Yeah, okay.
parents with us, if you all have if you all have a suggestion, you can type it in the chat. We'll see if we can pass it on.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any party tips of when your kids are away besides taking a nap and sleeping that they would like to throw into the comments? Let us know and we'll pass them along. But other than that, we are at 4:40. So I think David is going to get in the meat and potatoes there of what we're going to do. And with that, I think Chris and I are we're gonna mute and pop off screen. And when we return, we will come back with some maybe really awesome tips. But
You can all
yeah, we're at 4:40. So David, we're gonna leave it to you now. So
okay.
it's all you.
Party on.
Get your party on. All right.
Okay, I'm going to rant and rave about a few things here, some of which we kind of covered before, but not quite. And not to this one. I want to go to get my act together here. Go to this one. That's not what I wanted to go to. Come on.
Well, we were looking at the debt clock, if that's what you wanted, because
No, that's not
that
what
was
I
scary.
wanted.
Okay.
I wanted my iPad. There we go. Now here's my iPad. I want to spend a little time and kind of give you some info on inflation and taxes that and maybe a different way to look at it that we haven't looked at it before. 20 years ago, actually this month, I kind of switched careers and moved out of engineering into financial stuff. And I used to subscribe to this little journal. It was like an economic think tank journal. I'd get it. And I remember it was about 19 years ago, it talked about how the history of inflation. And it showed evidence that, well, we really didn't have much inflation over time. And it really shocked me, but I kind of put it aside. And a couple of summers ago, Sam and I were at one of our wealth conferences, and a gentleman was there, Jeremy Siegel, who's a well-known professor, old guy, I think from University of Pennsylvania or such, and he has studied the history of investments going way back. And this is one of his graphs. And you can see on this graph, he's showing the real return of stocks, bonds, treasury bills, gold, and dollars over time. Well, what's interesting, if you look at this and you go back here far enough, this here is 1802. And this here is 1911 or so. And this blue line is the value of a dollar basically throughout the 1800s into the 1900s. Now, you can see although stocks and bonds and all had gone way up, the value of the dollar stayed the same until about 1913, and then it started falling off after that. But it basically means, what this line means is that for all those years, there was no inflation. And I said, well, let me go get some more information. And I let's see if I can get, be good here. Hang on, dang.
We got like wonky technical and like things happening.
I know I loaded a whole presentation and there it is.
There we go. There we go.
So I went today and did, the classic Google search, and here's sort of the same info. It's saying $1 in 1801 adjusted for inflation. And you notice here in 1801, the dollar was about the same as it was here in the early 1900s. There was a little bit of ups and downs, you can see, but for the most part, the dollar, this kind of confirms what we saw in the last one. What it kind of means here is back here in, say, 1799, just before he died, you and I could have sat down with say, George Washington, gone across the street, got a caramel mocha latte and some biscotti at the coffee shop, and 100 years later, in the early 1900s, we could have gone and met Teddy Roosevelt when he was president, and we could have gone across the street and had the same caramel mocha latte with biscotti, and the price would have been the same over those 100 years, pretty much the same.
That's kind of crazy when you think about it.
It is crazy. I mean, I always assume that, we're so used to inflation. We seem to think it's a natural order of things.
Yeah, I was not even, until you just said that, you're right. I always just assumed that.
Always assumed inflation's been going up ever since. And it's not necessarily so. Now, there are some cases, if you go back and read into Roman times and the Sumerians and all, there was a period of time where they would take a piece of gold and they would dilute it down with copper or something, and the value of the actual gold in their currency went down. That created inflation. But left alone, we've had an economic system in this country for over 100 years that really didn't see wild inflation. And during the 1800s, we built a pretty darn good country. I mean,
Wow.
about ran the railroads across the land and
Oregon Trail. Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of became a world power with this economic system. And then you can see in 1913 it went up, and in 1945 it went up, and in 75 it went up. And these are where we did things like we created the Federal Reserve back in about 1913, which gave us the ability to kind of print money. And there was some bouncing around with the gold standard, which is more than I want to go into in a happy half hour. But we had the Bretton Woods at the meeting, and then we changed the rules again, I think in 31. And then in 71, we had the Nixon shock when we went off right about here. We had the Nixon shock where we went off the gold standard. We no longer redeem our dollars in the world for gold. So it's, there's been a lot of things that change, but this idea that inflation is a given it's not necessarily so. We've got a lot of history where it does not appear to have happened. And I'll get back to why maybe that's even more important in a little bit. And this is kind of my rambling thinking. And I just wanted, since we have a day where I can kind of ramble, I thought I'd go be a little crazy and show you some of the things that I find interesting, or things to ponder.
It's your party day. You could do whatever you want, David.
Now, okay, Kristen, we'll ask you, because you sat in on a class recently, you should know. What year were taxes invented? What year did the US invent income tax?
Oh, snap, Kristen, you're on point.
Whoa. I went to 2 of these classes.
Yeah, but I taught it in both, so you should.
Yeah. They're not very old. I know that, right?
You want me to pinch hit? You want me to help you?
Yes. I'm phoning a friend.
Okay, I think it's like 1913, 1914.
It doesn't hurt to look at the chart where it's the first.
Oh my gosh. Okay, it's right in front of my face now. I feel.
I don't.
That's a blonde moment. I wasn't even looking at that. Whoa.
Where are you?
I don't ask tough questions in happy half hour. I usually make sure the answers available. Yeah, prior to 1913, we didn't have an income tax. We did import taxes. And in 1913, we created a tax. And this little graph here is the maximum tax rate that you would pay if you were really bringing in the money. If you were one of those rich people that are bringing in lots and lots of taxable dollars, this is what the last dollar would be taxed on. It's the marginal rate. And you can see one of my favorite, I don't know my favorite, but one of the people I find most fascinating was Andrew Carnegie, started what became US Steel. When he died, he was the richest man in the world. I think he was like 5 times richer than Bill Gates in today's dollars. So, and he would have been alive in 1913, and the most he would have paid was 7%. Now, by 1918, that rate had jumped up here to 77%. Why did it go up so high in 1918? Why do we have this big spike here? That's a question for you, for my sidekicks here.
Oh, war?
Yeah, World War
Okay,
One.
okay.
We need to pay down the war. We raise taxes. So if you are really bringing in the dollars more than X 100,000, they started taxing 70% of it. Came back down here in the 1920s to around 20 some percent. And then in 1944, it went all the way up to 94%. Why was it 94% in 1944?
I mean, that's unacceptable. I mean, 94%, that's just no.
Why was it 94%?
Okay, so more war?
Yeah, more war. I mean, come on, you guys must have studied something in
I
history.
know, I'm just playing. More war.
Okay. And it stayed even in the 50s, it stayed up there through 90 some percent. And then in the 60s, it dropped down to about 70%. And then we had this big drop here in around 1980. Now,
I know this one.
there is a story behind this, and the story goes that back here in the 50s, there was a guy making movies, a fairly famous, at least a B-rated movie star, and he got paid, I think it was like $100,000 a movie, and he'd never make more than 2 movies a year, because if he made over 200,000, the government took 90% of the money, and then the state of California took the rest, So he never make more than 2 movies, but he hated taxes. And later he went into politics and worked to cut taxes. Any guesses who we might be talking about?
Yep, that's good old Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan. And these are the Reagan tax cuts here in 1980. And we're now, our current maximum tax rate is about 37%. It's actually lower than it's been in a long time. But remember, there's kind of a reason for taxes. I hear a lot of people saying, gosh, are they going to drive my taxes up? Are they going to raise my taxes up? And I just thought I'd kind of sit back and look at it. You might say, well, I might ask you, well, everybody hates taxes. Why don't we just cut taxes entirely? Why don't we pay 0 taxes? Why do we need taxes? Why do you think we need taxes?
Well, we owe a whole bunch of money, don't we? I mean,
No, we got to spend money on things, whether it's an army, whether it's a fire department, whether it's roads, whether it's feeding poor children, whether it's whether it's Social Security for us old folks and Medicare for us old folks. We have reasons to need taxes. Now, how much tax can you build? And the amount of tax you can, if you go to buy a house, how much will they lend you to buy a house? How big a house do they know you can, what do they determine to determine how big a house you can have?
There's a couple of things. They're going to look at how much you make, your debt to income ratio. I mean,
exactly, your debt to income. They're going to say, if you're making a lot of money, you can buy a bigger house than you're making less money. So that debt to income is a key measure of how in debt you are, right? And if you're not very much in debt, they'll lend you a bigger house. And so the government has a debt to income ratio too. They call it debt to GDP, gross domestic product. It's basically how much the economy generates. And you can see in World War One, our debt to GDP looks like it went up to about maybe 25%. And then we raised taxes, remember, and we drove it back down. And then we had World War II, and our debt to GDP went all the way up to 106%. And we began to pay it down. Now, you know, that 94% tax we were complaining about here is bad, but we had to pay off World War II. I mean, we ran up the debt, and, you know, arguably a lot of people say if you run it, you know, you got to pay your debts, you got to get the money down. It's a whole other happy half hour what happens if you don't get your money down, and it's not pretty. Look at the Weimar Republic in Germany and between the wars. But we got it down, and then in 1980, you notice how we started going back up. Okay, and what actually happened when Reagan came in, he said, you know, there's no reason we need to pay this debt down. We can actually spend more than we're making. And another gentleman who was running against him by the name of Bush labeled it voodoo economics, you know, but the idea was, hey, if we cut taxes, we'll generate more spending, we'll generate more taxes, and we'll come out ahead. Well, it didn't really work that way. And we ran the deficit back up. There was a 4-year period, I think from 1998 to 2001, where we actually did bring in more money than we spent. And then ever since then, we've been on the way up. And we're right now at about 102%. We're right back where we were at World War I. And so, you know, people kind of say, well, you know, what are they taxing me? We say, we've got this debt. We in a sense have to pay it down. The reason we're getting away with a little bit now is interest rates are so very low, and we kept them low by playing with bonds and things like that. If interest rates of a 10-year treasury went back to 5% or something like it used to be, instead of, you know, 1 to 2%, man, the debt, the increase in debt load, the extra money we'd have to pay in interest would be huge. So, you know, one thing to think about when you think about, you know, taxes and all this, we have this problem, and we got to find somebody who's brave enough to help us solve it, you know, because if we just keep kicking the can down the road, sooner or later, it's going to be hyperinflation and who knows what. Now, I got one last piece that I want to show you, because, you know, I show you this 102% of debt. What does that mean? You know, it's hard to characterize what that means. So let me go to a different graph here. And let me make sure I bring it up.
That is a big number. I don't even understand that number.
Are you seeing the debt clock on the screen, Amy?
Yeah, that looks,
Okay.
it just keeps going.
If you want to have fun, well, I don't say fun, but this is what's called the USDebtClock.org. It tracks the national debt from year by year. And
that does not look fun. I don't know what you're talking about there.
But the trouble is, even this, you can see it clicking along, but it's about $28.6 trillion, or is that trillion? I think so.
Miranda says it's depressing. Yes, Miranda, I agree. It is depressing.
But you know, that number doesn't help you either. That number still doesn't put it into perspective. Over here, where it says debt per taxpayer, see, it says $227,000. Does that come out on the screen?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
That is, if you file a tax return, whether you're filing single or whether you're filing as a couple, everybody that files a tax return, in order to pay down that $28 trillion in debt, owes the government $227,000. So you could think of it as you have an extra $227,000 mortgage on your lifestyle that you owe to pay this down.
I don't have that. That ain't happening.
Well,
No.
and you both file single tax, so that's per tax return. Now, If let's say you were going to pay interest on that at 3%, that'd still be about $7,000 or $8,000 interest a year just to support that debt or that piece of debt that you owe. So that kind of puts it, I just like to show that to people to put it in perspective. To me now, my engineering mind can now get a hold on this. It's like, wow, Sandy and I owe another 227,000 in debt on the national debt. And I'll tell you one thing that's 226.7. One other thing that's kind of interesting about that is that's 227.4. Back in July when we did, back on July 13th, so about a month ago when we did this, it was 226.7 or 226.8. And in that month that amount we each owe has gone up to 227.4.
Okay, they need to stop having cocktails and buying Amazon packages. That is just
I know,
ridiculous,
I was gonna say, Erica looks like me with a credit card.
right? Absolutely no more. They are cut off. No,
Well, it's just like I just want to make that, so that's my ranting and raving for today. When it comes to the debt, we all owe this much money and we got to figure out how to solve it. And that's what our country should be focused on. How do we get back to being the responsible country we were at end of World War II when we did pay it down, Anyway, that's what I know. That's enough for now. It's time for the drawing.
All day. Not really.
this is supposed to be a party, David. I have my party hat on.
I know, but I've been wanting to get over bring this out for a while.
All right, fine.
We're about to make the party so much better for one.
We are. Dun, 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 dun.
Okay.
Let's see.
Beth and Bruce, hey.
Beth and Bruce. Dun, 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 dun.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you. Yay. Wine. I don't understand why I don't win. I mean, I attend every week. Every week.
I know.
You got to read the fine print,
Oh.
Employees and their families,
Oh. Okay. All right. I get it. Okay, fine. Bum, bum,
Okay,
bum.
they will get 2 bottles of wine delivered to their door by uniformed employees of the U.S. government.
Yes, from Fermental Bottle Shop, which is located in Ogden, of a little part of Wilmington here. And hand selected, I will give them a call, asking them some questions. And Steve, who is the owner of Fermental, hand selects these 2 bottles of wine that will be shipped to them. So yay, congratulations. Yay.
Thank you all for attending. Next week, hopefully Sam will be back. And
What do you mean, hopefully? Yeah.
I know Sam will be back.
They need her. I mean, everybody, she is knowledgeable. Kristen and I are just kind of like here for fun. Yes, everybody wants her back. I mean, I have a party hat and Kristen has a basket of fun, but yes, everybody I know you want Sam back.
You both laugh at my jokes. You're fine.
Because and we are entertaining, but Sam is much better. So Sam will be back next week, we promise.
Yeah, she'll rein us all back in.
We'll
Yes.
see you then.
Yeah.
Always send us suggestions and be sure to recommend this to your friends. Also, if you're you're new here, you don't know us, and you have something you want to chat about, you can always go to Carolina15
Yeah.
and that will get you to my calendar, and you can book a 15-minute call.
It's in the comments on Facebook. And I did not accomplish my goal of finishing my Kirkland seltzer, but did you finish your water?
So
Oh,
close.
no. I mean, yeah.
I'm
We
still
tried.
wondering
I'll
this
chug.
about, okay, I got plain water with alcohol in it.
It's, it's refreshing and it achieves the goal sometimes. It's what you
Okay,
need.
have you tried drinking moonshine without making a face? Okay.
Yeah. Nah, don't do it. Don't, because you can't. It's like gasoline. And with that, we would like to say cheers.
Cheers.
Till next week, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.